this is no longer a sports podcast at this point, so...
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Game Day Extra Podcast. I'm Travis Brown with KBTX, the senior Texas A&M sportswriter, here with the usual crew. Max Crawford, chief meteorologist.
And the cheese meteorologist.
He's cheesy.
Just
guy.
big cheese in over
also
here.
sports director Tyler Shaw.
Yep, here as well. Happy to be here. Ready to go to Vegas.
That's right.
Very ready to go to Vegas. We're going to start with a little clip here from Mike Elko. We talked to him yesterday, talking about the portal season, the way that the calendar is set up here, because it is a big point of conversation right now in college football. Here's Mike Elko yesterday talking about that.
It is for sure crazier than it's ever been. I think now more than ever, this sport needs somebody to step in and create some type of rules and regulations. I'm all for the portal. I'm all for NIL. I have zero problems managing either one of those situations. I think there is an awful lot of unregulated bad stuff going on right now throughout all of this. And, it's going to impact young people, and young people's futures. And so probably now more than ever, I think coaches are just crying out for somebody to step in and just regulate this thing at some level so that we all understand the rules, we all understand what's going on. I think there's so many easy solutions that we could get into, but somebody needs to do it, and they need to do it fast.
I think we can all agree it is unsustainable. Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is, because this is where it's starting to get the rub of, you have higher education, which is a whole industry that has been a thing since the 1800s, and you have college football, and they're starting to kind of butt heads as college football becomes a big business, and higher education is not going to change. And so you have to have the transfer portal where it is, because kids have to enroll in classes for the spring semester. But you also now have the playoff, the bowl games. You have situations where players are transferring out of teams that are still in the playoffs to go somewhere else. I mean, isn't the whole point of this competition? Yeah. Isn't the whole point of this to win a championship?
Get some hardware.
And be there for your team. But you can't blame them, because if they don't get in early, they might get passed up. They might not have a spot to necessarily land, or it might be at a lower caliber place, a lower caliber option. Is this as big of a deal to you as it is to everybody else, Tyler?
It is a big deal. I mean, it's the wild, wild west out there with college football right now, and that's
everybody drink.
Yeah,
someone said wild, wild west.
Yeah, and it's including the NIL with everything. But if we're specifically talking about transfer portal, I don't think this would solve anything. Big picture with the calendar and everything. But I think right now, what maybe, and they're not going to really look at this, but what I would do is keep the playoffs how it is, but all these other bowl games and everything, they're basically glorified exhibitions anyways, and just kind of like, fine-tuning for next year. Already play them like later than December. Have them as like a spring exhibition instead of doing your spring game. That way you already have your team together, rather than, A&M's going to play a USC squad where they're not even going to have, half their team isn't even going to be there.
I don't hate that.
That they,
I meant the model. Well, I don't hate that half their team's going to be missing either. I meant Tyler's proposal that I don't hate.
Just basically bowl games or
let
spring
the
games?
record show. Sure.
Again, that's not going to fix this big issue, but maybe a little bit of it, as it would really only affect those in the playoff, which is a smaller percentage.
What Mike Elko called for, and a lot of people are calling for, is some kind, the NFL, any pro sport, they have a commissioner's office that has the final say on all of these things. But the problem is, it's not the NCAA's fault. The fault, how we got here, is that college sports went from becoming an extracurricular activity to a multi-billion-dollar industry, and people are wanting to hoard. People, as in the athletic departments, are wanting to hoard the money, and the conferences, for that matter, and not necessarily play nicely with each other. So, right now, all the conferences are working for their own interests aside from each other, as we can see with expansion rating, the Pac-12 dying, and so that is the real problem with all this, because the athletes said, well, now this has become a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we're not getting any of that money, so they have sued, and that's what this whole House settlement is going to be, where there is revenue sharing. There is going to be some guardrails under that House settlement, but anything that the NCAA tries to do to enforce anything has been taken to court, and the NCAA has lost. Right now, there isn't a one-time transfer rule. It's unlimited transfers because there's a court injunction holding everything up.
Yeah.
There is... you can induce players to come to your school, entice them to come to your school with NIL money, because there is a court injunction that says that you can do that right now. And anything that the NCAA tries to do to put guardrails on the transfer portal, on NIL, on revenue sharing, is going to get taken to court, and they're probably going to lose because of the Supreme Court's ruling in the Alston case that happened in 2021. That kind of open the doors all up to this. So to get some kind of centralized government structure, they either have to get a legislation from Congress that gets them antitrust exemption. They have to make the athletes employees of the universities and let them collectively bargain for some of these rules and regulations and how this all works. Or college sports will have to shift out of the higher education model, become its own industry, where either you have its own, it's not ruled by the NCAA, it's its own corporation, or even the worst case scenario, the players aren't even necessarily students of the university. There's just a separate corporation that is the athletic department, and they license out the school's colors and logos, and they're just kind of like a sideshow for the school, which I think nobody wants. That's just semi-pro sports. That's not college sports. So one of these things is going to have to happen, because the court says the amateur model, college football as it exists, is not legal. It is a monopoly. It's kind of one of those deals where everywhere you look, there seems to be an idea or an option of how to fix this, but then there's two other things that are stopping it. Max, how would you fix college football?
No, you don't want to ask me that, because I'm not informed enough to tell you. I think there are a couple of things in the short term that can be done. But the problem is I don't know if they're enforceable or they even can be done. I think one of the things that you could do, and I completely stole this idea from a friend of mine, Parker, who essentially said, if you're going to keep that one time the transfer rule to where people are immediately eligible when they transfer, you put some sort of cap on their salary in that first year that they are at that new school. But in order to do that, like you said, there'd have to be some sort of employee agreement. And I know that there's a lot of signatures and contracts and stuff like that are already ongoing. I guess what my answer is I don't know. But what I do know is that in the short term anyway, the model seems to be right now, we're going to go all in on one season because the previous season looked good enough, and so we are going to throw all the money that we can, not at facilities, not at coaching contracts, at trying to get dudes from the portal. Ole Miss tried to do it last year. I think Texas Tech is trying to do it this year. And a lot of Tech fans, this is just on the Twitter sphere, are so happy about where their program is headed and stuff like that. I see a 4-loss season in their future just because of the way that it happened at Ole Miss. I don't think buying players is necessarily the right way to go about it. I think it's going to translate to wins. I do think that, but I do not think that it is.
Colorado went from a 3-win season to a 9-win season.
Right, and are they going to get to a 12-win season?
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
Not. Yeah. That's the goal.
That's my
Right,
exact
right,
point. Like
right.
you saw rises like that pre-NIL era too. And like, say what you want about Coach Prime, but I do think that the dude can coach. I don't know. I think it's going to, at least in the short term, kind of come down to who can manage the roster the best, play the portal very well, but also devote resources to keeping the guys on the roster that you think you can develop. So, I mean, it's like a 4, 5, 6-pronged approach of actually still being able to develop the players that you get, still getting some good high schoolers, and also getting some key pieces from the portal.
And I think that's why you see Bill Belichick coming to college football. Is because
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work either, but you do, and that's fine.
I actually think it will work because the whole player retention, player talent department of college sports now is a GM's office, and he's been able to do that at a high level in the NFL. If this portal model works like it seems it has for some places potentially, I think that's going to be the key there. What do you think?
It's not sustainable with having the go all in on one season kind of thing, because you might get lucky, but you're going to have you put all your money, all your resources into getting players for one season, and then how many are just going to bounce the next year? You better win that year or else. That's a lot of pressure for 1 year. There's no development. NAL might be able to solve some things if because this is basically they're not treated like amateurs anymore. If you start having contracts and you start having, rather than a 1 year deal that they sign, if in the future you start signing 3-year deals, maybe that helps with kind of the transfer portal craziness and the retention aspect. Again, like the calendar thing is just messed up, but again, without separating from higher education, I don't know how you fix it, other than maybe, I don't know, do you give college athletes a grace semester or something where you don't have to be enrolled in classes at this point, if because the transfer portal window gets pushed back till later. There's so many things that could happen. I don't know.
There is the other piece to this too, where it's looking like there is the pending approval of the House settlement, which is going to shift the focus from NIL dollars to revenue sharing dollars. And there's even programs out there right now that with this incoming signing class are working rev share deals with their athletes that will kick into place in July when they think all of this is going to happen. A&M and Texas schools technically can't enter into those yet because of the way that Texas's NIL law is written.
I will say, if that is the case, that is going to change in a hurry.
Right, and they couldn't change it until this legislative session, which opens up mid-January. So that shouldn't be a problem, but the whole scope of that's going to be different because it's shifting from third-party boosters having to pay these players and come up with money to the school is going to use portions of their TV money that's capped at $20 million to distribute out to their athletes. And so there will be this hierarchy of the quarterback makes this much, this guy makes this much. That is going to change in that way too.
Yeah, that's
Can I, if I may, and part of this very well might be because I'm avoiding it, because this obviously, like so many people say, this is not the college football I grew up with that I know and love. In ways it kind of is. It's just all out in the open now.
Yeah.
But, man, I, for lack of a better word, I'm kind of bored with it right now. And again, maybe that's just because I am delaying the inevitable, and I'm just choosing not to think about it. I'm just trying to shove it away. But like, I don't know. There's a part of me that's just like, you know what? There's a lot of football on over the next couple weeks, and I'm really excited to watch it. And I do know also that is partially because a year ago we were in almost the same position that it appears that USC is. We didn't know who the heck was going to play for a team against an old common foe. And so maybe that's why I'm just like, you know what? I kind of like where we're headed. I think I'm spoiled in that, like, because I know that A&M has a pretty decent NIL base. I know that we're working the portal. I know that we have a lot of pieces who are staying. I know that we got a lot of dudes that are staying for the bowl game. So maybe I'm privileged in that. But I'm just excited to watch some football. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Is that weird?
These two seasons are very different for A&M. Like last year, it was, the entire roster needed to be built through the portal because of the coaching change, and that's normal. This year, though, everything seems pretty steady. They've added some guys in the portal, but it's nowhere near the numbers they were getting last year.
And you got some dudes that I feel like really, really like Elko and his plan and stuff like that I actually will be able to say, you know what? I'm going to put some emotional investment into this, into, I almost said character, into this player in specific. And I think that's one problem that so many people have with this current era is like, I can't get excited about a portal signee or a recruit because I don't even know if they're going to be there 2 years from now. It's kind of been that way for a while.
Yeah. I mean, that's how recruitment has always been.
Yeah.
Though. You know, you get hyped for a guy that commits in his
Kyler Murray.
sophomore year. Yeah, exactly.
Famous Texas A&M quarterback, Kyler Murray.
Yep.
He's
On the other end of the spectrum, a guy like Damon Demas that everybody wanted to see come out. And
if that makes people care less about the recruiting industry in general, maybe that's a good thing. Because it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that we're paying people to follow high school recruits around.
15-year-olds.
Now, for you guys, y'all are local people. And like, if a College Station High signee
It's a
is
big
going
deal.
to A&M,
Yeah.
that's a great story.
It was
Lake Belton, with Micah Hudson coming back, that's awesome. Central Texas kid coming to A&M, love that. But you get,
I get what you're saying.
I'm not throwing shade at y'all.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't think neither one of us really covers recruiting
Sure.
right now, so I don't think any of us are going to
And I'm
take
not
offense
throwing
to
shade
that.
at our other people within the industry who are doing that too, because I know there are some really, really good dudes that work 2 miles away from us who do great work too.
But by the nature of journalism,
Yeah.
you're recruiting, especially if you're working for recruiting for a specific site. And this isn't again, it's not a shot at anybody. It's just the nature of this. You're gonna ask leading questions and that's like a journalism no-no. Is you don't ask leading questions. You don't say where does A&M stack up amongst all the other schools. You say what are your top 5 schools? Because if you say where does A&M stack up, immediately they're going to, unless they're a jerk, they're going to say some really great things about A&M.
Right.
But that might not be indicative of their decision process, and that's not necessarily the question asker's fault, because he's put into that situation of having to ask the question that way, and it's not necessarily the kid's fault because he wants to be respectful of the person who's asking the question and the school, but you're just not going to get a good answer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem with the recruiting coverage industry.
It's a 17-year-old kid, and that answer very well could change 45
it's gonna
seconds after the
flip-flop
interview.
sometimes.
Yes. So I can sense that this is the stuff that like I get giddy about talking about the future of college sports, and you as the fan representative are like, I hate this.
A little bit, yeah. And I don't know. Hopefully, some good comes out of it. Like dudes are getting compensated for the efforts that they put out on the field. At the end of the day, I still think that's a net positive. Now, you could argue to what extent are they being compensated, and like what kind of character is that setting up, and what kind of precedent is that setting, and all that. But I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'll go back to what I said. I'm just ready for some football.
I'm too. That's the whole thing with the transfer portal recruiting. I know it's a long off season, so it's just going to be a bunch of hypotheticals and talk.
Sure,
like
and we'll be here discussing them all the way through.
But at the end of the day, I just want to see football played.
Yeah.
You know,
and you guys get to go to a cool destination, like all the players said in their pressers.
At least
it's not Houston.
At least it's not a Houston.
So let's take a moment and pay the bills, Max.
Okie dokie. Hey, y'all. Max again, here to talk to you once again about our friends at Douglas Automotive. As I've said many times, I'm proud owner of one of those from the Mazda line of vehicles, and let me tell you what, the service department alone is enough to make you keep coming back to that place, but there are many other reasons why you should shop at Douglas this holiday season. Folks at Douglas are rolling out the 2025 model year in style in both the Mazda and the Volkswagen department. You can see what kind of inventory they have at homeoftheniceguys.com. Maybe you don't want to make that big of a splash with your holiday spending and you're just looking for a lease. Well, they can get you covered there too. Or shop their line of certified pre-owned vehicles. If you are looking for a new car or just want to drive something around for a little bit, head over to see the nice guys at Douglas. One more time, that website is homeoftheniceguys.com.
So there is a game to be played. Like we said, we are going to get to football. We are going to get to go, check out the blackjack tables and then watch some football.
Y'all if I give you a number or two, will you do a couple rolls of roulette for me?
Sure.
Yeah,
cool.
Sure. I'll do that.
As long as it's a really dumb number.
No, well, okay. I'll pick like my favorite A&M players, and we can just do their jersey numbers.
Oh, that's
the
a good
favorite
idea.
A&M players to transfer out.
Yeah.
What was Kyler's number? Was he number 1?
I think so.
When he was here, I don't know. at all.
I think
so.
I think he was number one here.
Well, here is...
I didn't bring up Kyler twice. I didn't think I'd ever do that.
Las Vegas Bowl out there in Vegas at Alliance Stadium. It's 8-4
Allegiant.
Texas. Allegiant? Oh,
Yeah.
well, there
You
go.
were thinking Reliant.
Yeah,
That's
I am
Houston,
thinking Reliant.
where they are not going.
Allegiant.
Yeah.
Alliance, yeah.
They're going to a very nice stadium.
I'm just trying to make this the Texas Bowl as much as I can.
No!
Texas A&M 8-4 playing USC. First time these two teams have matched up since... When Tyler? You know this.
It's the 1978 Bluebonnet Bowl.
It
if
is.
I'm not
Wow.
mistaken.
1977
season, but it was played on January 1st, 1978, I believe.
The 31st. So all of the reporting was from
oh,
the
got
first.
it.
So
That's,
which is
that's
why
where
we've
I'm
been
getting the number.
Yeah, we've
The
been
next day,
we've been
right.
looking this
1977 Bluebonnet Bowl. I got you.
up. We've been looking this up over the past couple of days, so we've had to maintain that. Yeah, Max is the fan.
Did Cease write this article?
No, I have the old Eagle printouts here. As the fan, we talked to the players and they said it's not Houston, so we're happy. Marcel Reed comically said it's not the Music City
I think
Bowl
he
either.
said that a couple of,
Which he grew up in Nashville and he's like,
Right.
it's too cold, so that's kind of funny too.
Yeah.
USC, like, this is exciting for the fandom, right?
I think so. We talked a little bit about this last week or the week before, whatever. It's a fun destination. It's a brand name school that obviously we have not played or really had any sort of interaction with in a long time. Like, heck yeah, man, let's go play a football game. And like I said earlier, it is a much different situation than it was a year ago. I think we limped into that Texas Bowl and almost showed up Gundy, but Gundy's usually prepared in the postseason. They look a lot like we looked going into that game. And I'm pretty sure they lost their starting running back. They don't have one of their co-offensive coordinators. Obviously, I think Riley's going to call the plays. But I don't know. I like our chances.
Yeah, let's set the stage for this. First off, third time that A&M plays USC in the history of the two schools. Two of them were in bowl games, the 77 Bluebonnet Bowl and the 75 Liberty Bowl. They also played a regular season game in Los Angeles in 1964. All three of them Aggie losses. Here's the interesting thing in all three, the through line for all three games. The 77 Bluebonnet Bowl, A&M lost 5 fumbles. In the 1975 Liberty Bowl, A&M had 4 turnovers. And in the 1964 game that they lost, they had 5 turnovers.
Were those Ballard coached teams in the 70s?
The 70s were,
Yeah.
yes. And 77, you had the great Phil Bennett out there on defense. You had the freshman Mosley at quarterback for the Aggies. So that's a little bit of the history there. When you look at the transfer portal, 18 total transfers from USC in the portal right now. 8 of those were significant contributors for this season. You had 3 wide receivers. Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson, Kyron Hudson. You have a running back in Quentin Joyner. You have Miller Moss, the quarterback that played for most of the season in there. And then the safeties, Zion Branch and Sam Green, the edge rusher. Plus a few Mason Murphy, an offensive tackle, and a few more offensive linemen that are depth positions. So, like you said, it is a position where A&M seems that they're going to only have 3 opt-outs of the game in the Shamars and Nick Scorton, who are going to the draft. And really, you could argue that the only guy that would probably make impact on this game would be T.J. Shanahan on the offensive line. I mean, Connor Wigman, of course, if he was still the starter, but. Cyrus Allen, and he's hurt, so it's gonna resemble pretty much close to the same A&M team that played Texas in this game.
And it's been a while since they've done that in the bowl. Last year was obviously didn't resemble at all what they played. So yeah, I think Max hit the nail on the head. This USC team is kind of like the shoes that A&M was in last year, and so I don't think A&M will struggle too much because they've had kind of continuity with this roster. I will say we talked to Phil Bennett. Since he played in these last couple of games against USC, and he was talking about when he was coaching at North Texas, and they were playing Boise State, and they were leading at halftime, and then Boise State put in this true freshman running back they'd never heard of, and his name was Ashton Genty, and he ran for 174 yards on them, and Phil and the team had no idea who this guy was, just came out of nowhere. So That would be the only caveat, is if the Trojans are hiding an Ashton Genty somewhere on their roster that's going to like pop out.
Perhaps not, but maybe they have a half dozen kids who are 75% as good as Ashton Genty. You know, like there's going to still be talent on that team, even though a lot of talent.
Especially on the offensive side of the ball, with Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
Here's the tail of the tape. Again, there's kind of all of this has asterisks because these are with players that aren't going to be on both rosters. But it's a pretty evenly matched up game here as you want to look at the statistical categories and kind of where they're ranked. Really, the best portion of this is A&M's rushing offense is kind of leading the charge there. And, USC's rushing defense, okay, top 50, okay. I still put that as kind of maybe the place to look. I know, Tyler, you need to go.
I will bow out for the last little bit of this podcast.
Because he has interviews to go.
Yeah.
Parting thought.
On the matchup itself, I think A&M... I think it's going to be kind of a defensive battle. I think it's going to be low scoring. Just with... I know it's Lincoln Riley, so you think it'd be kind of fireworks. But with the all the pieces that are missing for USC... and I think A&M will kind of control the game on the ground a little bit. And so I don't think they're going to need to put up a ton of points. And it'll be kind of, longer drives, longer possessions for A&M. But that's interesting that I guess, I look at the total defense for USC, I guess, is a little bit closer to A&M than I would have originally thought, 64th to 71st.
Right, not a terrible defense. I could be wrong about this because I have not watched a ton of USC football, but I feel like they were in pretty much every game that they lost. They a lot of times would blow the lead or stuff like that. So, you know what it kind of reminds me of is, or not reminds me of, what I think is going to happen is I think it's going to be pretty similar to the Florida game, where we jump out to a lead, and then we maybe even come out in the half guns a-blazing, and then the fourth quarter, all of a sudden, we're just like, oh, this game's closer than it should be. And maybe I'm being a little too Aggie biased there, but
I just see. I mean, they're gonna have some offense. I just think A&M still has too many starting pieces.
I think so too.
I just it's gonna be. I mean, A&M did hold their own. I think a lot of that, though, and like you said, was that Marcel Reed stepped up and proved that he is a good. A solid quarterback and was able to.
We could
to
do another
them.
pod on that,
right?
About how he's the guy, right?
Right.
So,
so like you said, it is USC. They have recruited decently well over the last few years. They portaled. There's going to be players in there that can play, but they're going to have to step up and really prove that they can do it quickly and they were ready to go. I think even in the positions that A&M is going to miss in defensive end with the Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton out, Riley Kennedy and Cassius Howell were great options on third down. And I mean, sure, those two guys are NFL talents that are going to go to the draft, but they have healthy replacements there. I don't necessarily see
you still got
a whole lot of
Regis.
drop off there, and it was a USC team that also just didn't win a whole lot of games.
It went at full power,
6-6 at full power. So I give this one A&M. I think USC right now is 3-point dogs in the game. I mean, maybe some of it's. It's a little closer to USC, so maybe they're thinking it might be. I think Aggies will travel to this game too.
I think so. Yeah, I think so as well. And I don't know, like I don't mean to keep dogging on USC, but USC fans don't travel to their own games that well.
True too.
But USC is also a national brand, so maybe people will fly into Vegas to go see that game. And postseason odds, I think, especially when you get beyond the playoffs, like Vegas can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 3 points is fair just because there are so many unknowns. Obviously, we know a little bit more now, but you got to set the line at some point. And I think the line was likely set before the portal opened. So, I don't know. If you're an odds maker, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Mike Elko did make a good point, too. It's like the first game of the season.
Yeah.
And so if they do have guys that they're going to use for the first time or use guys in in different roles or in different ways. There could be offensive wrinkles or defensive wrinkles that you just haven't seen on film all year because they're just going to kind of throw caution to the wind. That's the other kind of fun thing about these bowl games.
Absolutely.
Because you kind of can throw caution to the wind. So you might see a fake punt at some point because it's like, okay, like, yeah, you want to win, but you know, it's Vegas. Push them all in, baby.
Speaking of wrinkles and showing some stuff that you haven't, I hope that there's a couple of 4th and 1 packages ready.
I was really scared about where you were going with that.
No, stop it. Stop this. Just because Tyler left, it's still a rated G podcast.
So okay, a big part of this is you know, like a spring game, like we kind of said, like it's more pointing towards next season.
But it counts towards the official record.
It does count towards the official record.
Important distinction,
but
everybody.
What is it that you want to see in this game? What is there a player? Is there a position group? Is there something that beyond just the outcome of the game that you're like, I want to see how that fires?
It's almost all offensive for me. Especially knowing that, you know, we're going to be without the 3 of the front guys on our defense. I think I will concede a little bit of like some defensive lapses here and there, especially in the run defense. So what I want to see most, obviously I want to see our defense do well, but what I want to see most is cohesive offensive play. Really in any way. Like if all of a sudden Marcel shows some really good passing stuff, or if we just dominate on the run with the 1-2 punch of Amari Daniels and Ruben Owens, or if the offensive line just looks really good at picking up blitzes and stuff like that. Like I think other things will cascade from that. If we have a really good run game, I think that's going to open up the pass game. So I need a spark somewhere there. But the thing that I want the most is I just want to walk away from this game, honestly, win or lose. I think we're going to win. But win or lose, I want to walk away from this game thinking that's our guy at QB. That's what I want the most.
It is really telling that you are so confident in the A&M victory here. That's like normal person's confidence and then some.
It's poison.
It's rat poison.
Yeah, but I mean, and part of it is just because well, there's some team confidence here too. Just in the way, obviously we didn't finish the season how we wanted, but like the players still seem bought in, and that's not even from the words that they're speaking, that's the actions that, like, you know, people that you thought, well, we're definitely going to lose that person to the draft, like they stayed. You know, Trey Zune hasn't announced anything, but I think a lot of folks are pretty sure that he's going to stay. Will Lee, for instance, you know, who says let's do this again. Like, I think you are looking at a team... Scooby Williams. Mm-hmm. I think you were looking at a team who is saying, yes, this is... It's so many times in Elko's pressers, and the players talk first, if I remember correctly.
Usually, yeah.
You hear Elko say the same thing that the players were saying. And what did Elko say in his presser? That this is game 1 of 2025. And so I guarantee you the culture of that locker room is the exact same way. It's like, we're starting next year right now. And not to say that they're not trying to preach that same message at USC, but they've had a lot more attrition, and they're short a couple of coaches, and they're short a couple of key contributors, and we really aren't. So it's a two-sided deal. Like, yes, I'm confident in our own team, but I'm also kind of confident that, you know, this USC team's not really going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. Maybe I'm wrong.
I hate that this is where I'm going because it's like the most cliche thing of the season. But I'm excited to see how much more Terry Bussey gets incorporated into the offense. And
absolutely.
If that wildcat kind of formation they did against Auburn sticks and they use some of that, if you see him more out there, maybe we can get another another big play in Moose Muhammad, who's kind of had his streakiness through the season. There is some players that maybe could play themselves into a professional contract in this game, whether it be what is the XFL now? Leah Musgraves, our friend who works there, is going to be. It's the USL.
USFL?
The USL, just the USL.
Okay.
I believe.
That's XFL and the other one merged.
Yeah, Canadian League, whatever it is, they might be playing themselves into some money.
Sure, why not? And I mean, Barber, Jade Walker, and like you said, you know, Terry Bussey, obviously he's a freshman, but yeah, some of those seniors who did not opt out, yeah, maybe get yourself into a free agency. I don't know. It should be fun. Like I'm excited to see Walker and Barber too.
Sure. That's about pretty much all. I have A&M winning too. You have A&M winning. Tyler has A&M winning.
I do. Am I going to regret it? Maybe, but we move on.
But it's also a bowl game,
right?
So it's a lot of it is just to get to. It is a little kind of a breath of fresh air because it is just getting to go out and play football and see some fun athletic abilities.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Sorry for shouting.
We are off next week because next Wednesday is when we normally record is Christmas Day.
Oh my gosh,
which
sure is.
Tyler and I will actually be flying out that day to Vegas. But we want everybody to have a little holiday season. So for everybody watching this, happy holidays. Hope you're getting to celebrate with friends and family and ones you love, and have some good times, some warm times. But we will have all kinds of coverage from Las Vegas as A&M takes on USC out there, both on TV and on KBTX.com, the KBTX Sports app. We'll do another game recap. Those were always fun, and people enjoyed those. Max, what are you doing for Christmas?
We're doing some traveling. We're gonna go up and down I-35. We'll go see some family. Kiddo's second birthday is on Christmas Eve, so we're very excited for that. We've got the birthday wrapping paper and we have the Christmas wrapping paper, so that's all taken care of. There's one I do want at some point to just go to a coffee house and just spend like 3 hours there one afternoon and just either read or maybe even do like some fun work stuff or just sit there and disassociate. I'm going to try to stay off of things as much as possible. I am at the point right now, Travis, and this is no longer a sports podcast at this point. So, but you asked. I am at the point where every time I get on a social media app, I just get angry, and so I need a recharge. I need a mental, spiritual, emotional recharge, and so that's what I'm going to aim for. We'll see how that works with the 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a lot of fun either way.
Yeah.
So yeah. What about you?
Well, we're gonna do really quick Christmas with both my wife's side and my side, like 24 hours with each.
Yep.
And then we'll fly out to Vegas on the 29th, or excuse me, the 25th, and we'll get back. We get to, they're giving us the media discount rate at the hotel.
Nice.
Through that Sunday afterwards, so we'll get
Cool.
like a Saturday of just a recharge day in Vegas. The funny thing is we talked about it might not be like going and sitting at the card table or going to see a show. It might just be like we're gonna sleep in, we're gonna go get a nice meal, we're gonna maybe walk, just chill out, like you said.
That's what you do. Get a good Vegas buffet, and then you can just make it one meal for the day,
and then just
go
take
around
a nap.
And do some. Yeah.
So anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Like we said, we'll be back in 2 weeks with the normal pod, but we'll be back next week after the game to recap everything that happened in the Vegas Bowl. So for the absent Tyler Shaw and Max Crawford, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. We'll see you